The sound of laughter echoed too loudly on the narrow street, sharp and careless, cutting through the late evening air. A woman stood frozen near a closed shop, clutching her bag tightly, while a group of young men circled her with mocking smiles and reckless confidence. Fear flickered across her face like a silent cry for help. From across the street, a single father carrying grocery bags slowed his steps, his eyes locking onto the scene as his heart began to pound. He had seen many things in life, but something about this moment made his chest tighten, as if fate itself was testing him. What he did next would silence the street, and change lives forever. Before the story continues, take a moment. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and standing up for what's right even when it's hard, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel, Lonely Dad Strong Heart. Your support keeps stories like this alive. The man's name was Imran, a widowed single father in his late 30s whose life revolved around survival and responsibility. His days were long, filled with work that barely paid enough, and his nights were even longer, filled with memories he tried not to revisit. He had lost his wife years ago in a sudden illness, leaving him alone with a young daughter who depended on him for everything. Life had taught him to stay quiet, to avoid trouble, to keep his head down and focus only on getting home safely. But as he stood there watching the woman being harassed, every lesson about silence and self-preservation began to crumble. Imran knew fear intimately. He had felt it the day his wife took her last breath, felt it when hospital bills piled up, felt it when his daughter asked questions he didn't know how to answer. The fear on the woman's face mirrored something deep inside him, something raw and unresolved. The young men were enjoying their power, blocking her path, laughing loudly, unconcerned about who might be watching. People passed by, some glanced, most looked away. The street, full just moments ago, felt empty in spirit. Imran's legs felt heavy, as if rooted to the ground. He thought of his daughter waiting at home, probably doing her homework under the dim light, trusting that her father would always come back. He thought of the risks, of how one wrong move could bring violence, humiliation, or worse. But he also thought of what kind of example he was setting, not just for his child, but for himself. He remembered promising his wife, at her grave, that he would raise their daughter with courage and compassion. That promise echoed louder than the laughter. Slowly, deliberately, Imran placed the grocery bags down. His heart raced, but his face remained calm. He walked toward the group with a steady pace that surprised even him. There was no shouting, no sudden aggression, just the quiet presence of a man who had endured loss and learned strength through pain. The young men noticed him, their laughter fading as confusion crept in. They hadn't expected anyone to step forward. They were used to silence. Used to people choosing comfort over courage. Imran stood between them and the woman, his body language firm, his eyes unflinching. The street seemed to hold its breath. The mocking smiles vanished, replaced by irritation and uncertainty. Something about Imran unsettled them. It wasn't his size or strength, but the weight of his resolve. He looked like someone who had nothing left to lose, someone who would not be intimidated. The woman's breathing slowed as she realized she was no longer alone. Tears welled in her eyes, not just from fear, but from relief. For the first time since the harassment began, she felt seen, protected. Passers-by began to stop, drawn by the sudden shift in energy. Windows opened. The street, once indifferent, was now watching. One of the young men scoffed, trying to reassert control, but his voice lacked conviction. Imran did not respond with anger. He stood quietly, letting the silence speak. Silence can be powerful when it carries truth. The group began to feel exposed, aware that eyes were on them, that their behavior was no longer hidden in plain sight. One by one, they stepped back, muttering excuses, their bravado dissolving into embarrassment. Within moments, they dispersed, leaving behind a stunned street and a woman trembling with emotion. The silence that followed was profound. It wasn't empty, it was heavy with realization. People looked at Imran with a mixture of admiration and shame, wondering why it took one man to do what many should have done together. The woman gathered herself, nodding gratefully, unable to find words that could express what his intervention meant to her. Imran picked up his groceries, his hands shaking slightly now that the moment had passed. The adrenaline faded, replaced by exhaustion. As he walked home, the weight of what had happened settled in. He replayed every second, questioning his choices, wondering what could have gone wrong. But beneath the fear was a quiet sense of pride, something he hadn't felt in a long time. When he reached his small apartment, his daughter ran to him, hugging his legs, complaining about how late he was. He smiled, holding her close, feeling the warmth that made every risk worth it. That night, Imran couldn't sleep. His mind drifted to the woman, hoping she got home safely. He thought about the young men too, wondering what paths had led them to such cruelty. He didn't see them as monsters, but as lost souls who had never been taught empathy. The world, he realized, didn't need more anger. It needed more people willing to stand up quietly, firmly, with humanity. The next day, something unexpected happened. At the local market, strangers recognized him. Someone patted his shoulder. Another thanked him. Word had spread faster than he imagined. The woman had told her story, not exaggerating, not dramatizing, just telling the truth. She spoke of a tired man with grocery bags who chose courage over comfort. Imran felt embarrassed by the attention, but also deeply moved. He had never thought of himself as brave. Days passed, and the street felt different. People greeted each other more warmly. Shopkeepers kept a closer eye out. The silence that once protected wrongdoing was replaced by awareness. Even the young men were seen less frequently, their laughter gone, as if the moment had forced them to confront themselves. For Imran, life returned to its routine, but something inside him had shifted. He walked taller. He listened more closely. He spoke to his daughter about kindness, about standing up for others, not through lectures but through example. She watched him with admiration, sensing that her father carried a quiet strength that words could never fully explain. The woman returned one evening, leaving a small note at his door, thanking him for reminding her that good people still exist. Imran held the note for a long time, feeling a connection that transcended that brief encounter. It wasn't about heroism. It was about humanity choosing itself in a moment of crisis. As time went on, Imran realized that the street hadn't gone silent because of fear. It had gone silent because of respect. Respect for a man who chose to act when it mattered. Respect for the idea that one person, even a tired single father with heavy burdens, can make a difference. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that courage doesn't always roar and kindness doesn't need applause, please take a moment. Now to like this video, share it with someone who believes in humanity, and subscribe to Lonely Dad's Strong Heart. Your engagement helps these stories reach souls that need them. Before this story ends, I have one special request. Please comment below and tell us. What would you have done in that moment? Your words might inspire someone else to act when it truly matters. Because sometimes, all it takes to change the world is one single dad, and one strong heart.